Okay, so can you hear me? Just checking. This is a whole new setup. Doing on YouTubes and only the YouTubes. So we'll see how we go. Sure, it's fine. If I talk. I'll take a dab as a yes. That's the internet, the universal language right there. It's just dabs or no dabs. That's it. Alrighty. Let's jump in. So today is a special event of running Mona across the Immadegen universe. Immadegen is, to my knowledge, a VRM sort of ecosystem, and we're going to build a world for them in Mona today. So that should be fun. But first, we need to sort of give an overview of what is Mona, because maybe some of you don't know. But it is a perfect place to run VRM experiences. So let's jump in. It works. Excellent. All right, excellent. So, what is Mona? Well, Degen, let's do that. Like it's an event with them, so let's run with that. Emma, Degen. I think it was .com. Yes. So a lot of these cool VRM avatars. I want that as a pet in Mona. Even when we get to that, it's gonna be so cool. So basically, now that Mona supports VRMs, you can put your Immadegen assets into Mona spaces very easily, which is really cool. You got the Discord there. So get on that. Next up, we have Mona, which is the spaces we can put them in, and let's have a quick look at that. Now, the range of spaces is like any art, basically super good, and people who have just come in and learning the craft, I guess you could say. So we have a full amount, some interesting cases there as well, of many spaces that have been built over the last long time. Only a couple. There's a couple. Based on all sorts of things. So you can have, let's have a look. One of our most popular stations, I guess you could say, is the Neon Glitch. Now, let me see. I need to check something because I have a thing. So if we have our experience, I can go through the tutorial if I want to. But basically it comes down to WASD for walking around, jump, and holding shift for run. I think that's it. If you press H, you can go to some settings. Let's put some bloom up a little bit, so that gets used. Some people like motion blur and chromatic aberration. I do not. But we can also host a hangout, so make it public. And then we have Avatar, and this is where we're at. Import VRM. And if you have your address, you can load your VRM. Excellent alien material. Excellent alien space, kind of. So the sort of spaces that you have access to range in whatever your imagination is basically allowed to create. That said, there are some caveats because we're using WebGL. So WebGL means this whole space is in the browser. And unfortunately, browsers have limited resources in comparison to, you know, Cyberpunk 2077. That said, if you have the skills, you can do some pretty cool stuff. Now, we also have the ability to add NFTs or images, and then you can click on those and have a look, and then go to the website. There's all sorts of crazy stuff you can do. with that. So let's go to some other spaces. Now I'm going to have to load that VRM every single time, otherwise I'll have to log in. So let's have a look. This one's pretty cool. And this one, like, they're all cool. All right, let's go through the chat just to make sure I'm on top of things. Yeah. Okay. So this space was done by Faraz. He's sort of one of our top builders. He knows his stuff. And because he's very technical, he can push the boundaries of what some of these spaces can do. So even I look at this one and it's like, how all of this? So very cool space. And of course, we have the ability to dance. For one. That's my favorite. And wave, if you want to. Now that's using Z, X, C, and N. So we can do that. And once again, if you press escape and do host a hangout, you can make this a multiplayer environment. So if you go host a hangout. Hey, it's Gary. Yes, there is actually. We're working on that at the moment. And we have some interesting things coming up with that sort of stuff. But yes, at the moment there is a Mona library with some assets that people have created for one of our challenges in the past. And I will show you how to find some of that in a second. There is! Stop lying, Lee. It's not the most accessible because we're still using Airtable. So let's go into that, shall we? I want to show more spaces. Anyway, I've got so much time. There's a lot of spaces. So check out metaverse.com and browse your spaces if you like. Actually, what I might do, and I share this one. I'm going to put this in the chat. Go hang out there. Now, the other thing, and this is very important if you want to build spaces, is basically the Mona docs. Now, the Mona docs is docs.monaverse.com, and we have all of this. The main one you'll probably be looking at is Get Started, and it has all the basic things. So you'll need to install Unity. Now, we use a very specific version, 2020.3.18, and it has some of the process of how to do that. We need to download the Mona Unity template, which is here. Then we need to open that template in Unity. We're going to load the Mona scenes, and we'll start creating your space. Now, I'll be doing all of this in this session, so be prepared for a ride. URP is not supported at the moment, and may not be. We went with the standard render pipeline, or the default render pipeline, or the built-in render pipeline. It's all the same pipeline for now, because that was the most stable, trustworthy, and supports WebGL. So HDRP is a bit of an interesting thing. A URP may. But I think at the beginning it was a bit rough around the edges. Unity's made some interesting pipeline directions. So the standard render pipeline is the only one supported at the moment. What else do we have? Okay. So it's going to be very interesting jumping between the chat and this. Now, so we've got the assets, testing your space, submitting your space, and then minting your space. So we'll be going through probably most of this. That said, speaking on library, we do have this for the moment. So this is accessible now, where we do have some assets that have been submitted in different challenges over the last year or so. So we have some sculptures, we have some portals, we have some furnishings, and we have some technology. So feel free to have at those. That said, yeah, we do have some things coming up soon that I think everyone's going to be very happy about. So I'll leave that as a surprise. What else do we have? So building the metaverse, as noted, in Monaverse space, we're going to be looking at game development. So you'll have a lot of people coming from architecture or other industries where there aren't as many limitations as a WebGL space. So trying to design your assets to be game ready, and a little lower than sort of latest game ready. So once again, don't be designing for Cyberpunk 2077 or Unreal 5 engines because we're using browser-based technology, which goes back a little bit. That said, as you can see, you can still make some pretty cool stuff. So a simple example is we don't want this kind of poly count on an asset. We want this for important assets, this for medium assets, and this for low, less important assets. So this would be a big element in creating your space. The other one is materials. So getting the material count as low as possible will improve your chances of making a space that runs well. That said, once again, like this, how do you do this in 2 hours? Nearly impossible. But that said, if you have the resources, and we have a lot of them here, you can basically go over how to build a Mona space. We have videos for most of these, so you can go through all of the things we have access to. But I'll introduce these as we go over the course of this stream. So yeah, all right. Yes, I agree. Game development, Anime Dream Machine is awesome and super powerful, and it's amazing. I'm a big fan. Especially now, like with the directions we can go, with metaverse, with cinematics, with like any engine, we just have so much room to grow and build some amazing experiences, either on web or client-based or phone or VR or AR or really looking forward to where things are going. Now, if you're interested, we do actually also have docs for how to create your own avatars. So we have these here as well, using Uni VRM approach. So there's that. We have a lot of docs and resources to help you. That said, let's jump in to. I'm gonna close. Well, I'll close these ones to make sure that we have the minimum. I'll leave the docs up so we can go over that. So get started. All okay so far? Excellent. Let's close. I might need that later, actually. I can close that, and close that. We'll leave that up just in case. Now, let's look at jumping in. True. What am I doing? Okay, so first thing is you need to install Unity. So you can use this link here. Now, Unity is usually done with, so what are we up to? I think, no, hang on, where is it? Version 2020.3. Now, I think we're on page 3 at the moment. We're looking at updating this, but we want this one. So generally, I recommend the Unity Hub. And that allows you to install your versions here. Now, when you're installing it, however, make sure that you add the build support for WebGL. So if it comes up with the, well, can we visual releases? Let's do that maybe. So if I did install, and this was on 18, not 39, you want this one, WebGL build support. If that is not installed, it will not work with Mona. Full stop. That said, if you do install it without it, you can go to this and go add modules and then install it there. So there are a couple of ways to do it if you forget. So that's fine. So basically we need this. And the next thing we need to do is download the Mona template. So for that, we go to GitHub, go to code, and we go download zip. Boink. Go save as. Now I'm going to put this on my desktop because I use it all the time because I make so many spaces. And go save. And yes, I do. Okay, that's great. Now, with that done, I'm going to move that down a bit. So let's say we have our Unity asset. I'm going to make a new build. Let's put this in, let's go in here. Workshop. New. So do that. So I'm going to simply unpack this here. So extract here. And we have our project. Now, I usually name this something. Now, this is the project. Now, if you want to, this is a very easy to back up. And I highly recommend doing that because Unity is sometimes a little breaky with light mapping and certain things. So make sure to, once you get it to a comfortable space, maybe duplicate it and keep two going at any time. So it's like the last one's good and that. So for that, all you have to do is go Control-C and Control-V. And do that, and then just rename it, for example. And then you have a duplicate of your space. We only need one for now. Now, I have recently made a couple of assets for this approach. So I'm going to move them over here for now. And that's all I'm going to say. Okay, done. Okay, moving on. So once we have our Unity Hub and our 2020.3.18, we can open our template. So go to tutorials, workshops, Immadegen, and the project. So we have those assets, packages, and project settings, and then go open. Unity takes a while to open. Note also, Unity takes a while to install. Depending on your internet and things like that. A common issue that some people find is if you can't log in, and you do have to with the Unity Hub, because you need a personal license. Sometimes, what is it? Antivirus or VPN or firewalls might be your issue there. So those are the common three things where if you can't sign in with your personal account, which is free, it's problematic. So yes, those. Okay, so we have our template open in Unity. Now you'll notice this, it has nothing to do with Mona. That said, we do have our playground, QA, and Mona menu here. Now, this is what we want, load space scenes. Done. Just for clean, I will always get rid of this first. So right mouse click on unlisted and go remove scene. And then we have these. Okay, that's done. Now, just to show you how easy it is to get into Mona, I'm going to press playground. Ta-da! Okay, so Because this is my other browser, I don't have the avatar. That is, the thing is also, if you haven't logged in and, like, I don't think you can change your avatar here. I think it does default though. That said, this is the playground, which is the testing ground for Mona Spaces. Very easy to get into. Get used to doing it. It's very important, very useful to see how well your space is running, things like that. So that's how easy it is to get it in browser, to be honest. Now, here you can look at a portal. There's a portal in the scene. If I click on this in the wallet draft, this could link to another minted space. So portals are very useful for getting around the Monaverse. But yeah, so let's get rid of that. Now, at the moment, I highly recommend deleting your playground files in order to make sure that your playground files update. So if you find that you build it and nothing's changed, it's possibly because it hasn't updated this file. So I will always get in the habit of deleting those. Now, portals are optional. You don't need them. They also don't need to look like this. So if you want to have like a bar or something, you can just change your door. So let's say we change our door to a door by doing that. And then we need to update the collider to suit the imported door. Now, this hierarchy is pretty important with portals and other assets. So this one can be renamed. I'm going to unpack it just to rename it and stuff. This one, unique portal name, needs, you guessed it, a unique portal name. So if I had 5 portals, it would be, say, portal number 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, or close to front door, or back door, or whatever. But they have to be unique names. The spawn point is where you would turn up when someone links to your space. And then, of course, the assets and the portal door is inside that. This is the mesh. Now, notice how this one doesn't have a physics collider, or a collider here, because if I put one on this, it will override this, and therefore I will not be able to see the asset. So if I put a box collider like that, that will not work. So this is very important. So if I wanted an asset that was over here, around it, then I would move it around. So our collider here is still visible. So you can add assets and things that are around it, but make sure that your assets, so portals, canvases, and artifacts, do not have colliders over the main asset. So just a heads up on that one. And that said, I'm going to remove that one. So there's that. How are we going? All right. So for this argument, I'm going to remove our portal for now. Now, if I wanted that back, if you go to _Mona assets, you have your artifacts, canvases, and portals here. So let's say we're going a bit spacey. So let's do disk. There we go. Much better. Once again, you can make the portal look like whatever you want. But we have that. Now notice how all portals have to be under the portal's object. So space, portals, and artifacts need a space, portals, and artifacts game object. If you rename or delete them, the Mona space will not work. Mona looks at these 3 to sort of start, so everything needs to be under them. If we put something under them, or equal to them, so if I reduce that, go QA, it will have issues. So one of your portals is outside the portal layer and multiple root objects. So make sure all of your assets are under those 3 assets. So if you collapse everything, it looks like that. Pretty easy test. Do a QA test, and it's all good. Okay. So Let's leave that in there. Now, the first thing we need is a spawn point. So when you open the space, you will start here. Notice how the spawn point is blue. Notice how the spawn point is red. Red is bad. Red happens when it goes inside a collider. So the floor is a collider. So if this spawns, it'll go somewhere, either up or down, trying to figure that out. The other one is also if it has nothing to land on. So let's go all the way over here. So if it's got nothing to land on, that is also bad. Otherwise, should be good. Same thing with the portal collider. Go in there, things like that. Let's leave that for now. Okay. Very quick run. Okay, download. Open template, done. Load mono scenes, done. Create your space, kind of getting there. But we've looked at portals, for example, and the spawn point. Let's look at canvases, shall we? Canvas is super useful. Now, canvases need to go in the artifacts asset. Now, that is down here as well. So, canvas prefab. Bonk. A canvas prefab allows you to put an image, media format, and soon to be videos in your space. At the moment, we support JPEGs, PNGs, and animated GIFs or GIFs. So up to you. Same hierarchy elements. So you can name this whatever you like, but unique canvas name needs to be a unique canvas name. Spawn point is for future functionality, and then frame assets. So when I set it, we can make it so the image is exactly this size, or it goes down either top and bottom, left and right, depending on the image. So if it's a landscape, it'll scale down, or if it's a portrait, it'll scale in. If you're scaling it, it has to be, don't scale the canvas prefab, scale the unique canvas name. So let's say I want to make this bigger. I can do that here. So let's say 0.25 because I like clean numbers. And then your image can go on that. Now, to edit that, you would do that on the wallet. You don't do that in here. So once you've minted the space, people can update those images to whatever they want. So canvases are super useful. And the last one, well, actually, let's do this. So there's canvases. Once again, more detail here and here. The last one we'll cover before really jumping into creating a space is artifacts. Artifacts are basically links. So if I add an artifact, and notice how I put it is in the base. So I'm going to put it in the artifacts object. Then move it. So I'm going to put that over here. So when an avatar looks at this, they will be able to link to a website. Once again, it needs a unique name, spawn point, and the artifact objects in here. Once again, make sure that your colliders on any other assets in the space, be it main scene or the asset itself, does not override this one, because then you can't see it. Therefore, you can't click on it. So that's the artifact. Any questions? Let's do a quick check. Yeah, let's do that. Actually, I'm going to turn the spawn point around because I always do that. Yeah, there we go. Save. Yeah, always save. The amount of hours I've lost. And a quick test before we jump into building a space properly. Okay, so we have our portal. If I click on that, I will go to another space. This will be an image, depending on how I set it in the wallet. And this will be our, once again, the point is a bit tricky to see. and the box is pretty small. That said, an artifact. So if I click on that, I can go to any website, be it an NFT, folio, LinkedIn, whatever you want. The internet's a pretty big place, so what you do with that is up to you. Okay, once again, delete it. Okay. So we have our canvas, we have our artifact, we have our portal. Let's start making the space. So I'm going to move these a bit out of the way. We can go there. All right. So, asset creation. You could technically make a space in Unity using 3D objects. They're not great, but you could do it. So you have like a cube, a sphere, a capsule, a collider. So it is possible. But you know, wouldn't recommend it. There we go. Fine art at its best. So you can do that. Don't recommend it. What I do recommend is pulling in your assets from elsewhere. So things like this will be Blender, Maya, 3D Studio Max, Rhino, Revit, Gravity Sketch, SketchUp, 3D Coat, ZBrush. There's a couple. Sony 3D asset creation tool. Small note. Any tool that exports as .fbx would be recommended. You can import GLBs, but you have to use other assets to bring them in. So I think UniVRM, which creates UniVRMs, not UniVRMs, which creates VRMs, can import GLBs. So that's possible. But FBX is generally recommended at the moment with Unity for reasons. Now, I use Blender because it's amazing and it's free. It's not amazing because it's free. It's also amazing. But yeah, it kind of covers most of the bases. It does some things not so great. So weight painting is a bit of a pain, but for the most part, it's actually really good. So, hide that. So if you haven't used Blender before, welcome to Blender. And it basically allows you to create a bunch of stuff. So what have I done? So basically I've used some low poly tools to create a little UFO, a laser, and where's that? And a laser blast. That'll make sense in a sec. I also have some surprises that I would like to look at, as I got some ideas that I'd like to test. So I'm going to give that a shot. So yeah, now, as noted, polygon count is very important with game-ready assets, especially in WebGL. So if I look at this, the poly count is quite low, but with Smooth, it's pretty good. So, like, there are ways to cheat a lot of this. If you've been in the game industry for a while, you will understand how many cheats and hacks we've created to be able to push the quality of assets further. So, for example, just as an example, I haven't done it with this asset, but just as an example, hang on. Say I have a low polygon asset, which is like this one, and you can see the edges, but the smooth is still quite nice. So most of the polygon count is about the silhouette, because magically, if I used a cool modifier, I think it's subdivision. Yeah, looks like it'll do. Is it this one? Yeah, that's it. What I can do, so that looks much cooler. For example, I can bake this. Can I? I can do that. I'm going to do a quick version of that. I just remembered I've unwrapped it. So let's do a quick version. So we have our low polygon model, and I've just made that. The next thing I need to do is unwrap it, which is basically grab the asset and put it in a way to flatten the object so I can put textures on it properly. So this could be a tile texture for some assets, or it could be a custom texture for key assets, and we're going to do a quick example of that. So here I have the UFO. This is a lot of wasted space, but eventually I'd like to put some assets in here, like a steering wheel. You know, the important things that UFOs use all the time, I'm sure of it. So we can do that. And then, once that's done, I can export this. What did I call it? Let's do UFO low. Selected objects. Apply transform. And we also now have a high. Export FBX. High. Now I can do this in Blender, but it takes a bit longer. I do have tutorials, workshops, one of the above, on that. So feel free to check those out. But yeah, so Substance Painter is a bit better because you can do some really cool texture stuff with it as well. So super fast version of this, which means I might make that stream a bit longer because it's cool. But that's fine. Who's up for a long one? I like creating stuff. I can't help it. So Substance Painter is really good, but it's also by Adobe, who have a annoying. Let's say annoying. That's the toned down version. The annoying subscription. That said, Substance Painter I think is still on the Steam store, and if the Steam store has a sale, which they do all the time, you can get up to 50% off, which is amazing. So that is one approach to getting Substance Painter, which is probably one of the most common approaches to really easy, really good texturing. So, template, that's fine for now. I'm going to select my assets when I remember where I put them. This is the low one. Cool. Open. You can use auto wrap here. I don't want to because I have reasons. So, okay. So we have our low polygon asset and we have our texture. Now I have two materials on this. So if we go here, so I have two materials on our low polygon. There and there. So I'll have to do, and the main one is I want the main one. So let's go to that and let's rename that metal. Cool. So we have that. Now I want to bake. It's a keyword there that comes up a lot in a lot of this. I want to bake the high polygon asset onto the low polygon asset, so it looks cool. So I'm just going to add UFO high. I'm going to put these up a little bit. Pretty much always have to. And then it's going to bake all of these different assets of these two. Ow. There we go. So it has some things there, and that's because I was designing this with not, what would you call it? Not doing this. So I'm going to remove the sharp so it's all smooth. So you can sort of see that a bit better. I'm going to export that again and see if that cleans up some of the issues. The other part is it could be the seams, but I don't think it is. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that. So export FBX, you follow, export, painter, no, this one. And just update the low again. Go okay. And then hopefully make mesh maps. Better. Okay. So as you can see, the result is a lot smoother. Now, depending on which angle you look at it, that's a normal smoothing back thing. So let's go a deep dive. Shouldn't, gonna. So I'm gonna actually get rid of these ones because I had different reasons for keeping those. So we have that. I need to make sure that this looks okay, which it does. So we can export it again. Update it again. And bake again. So normal maps are amazing. This is one of the biggest, I don't know, maybe I'm streaming that, but okay, I'll try it again. So normal maps are one of those hacks that they came up with a long time ago. So that looks a lot better. And what that does is it will project the bump of the high polygon onto the low polygon's texture. So the polygon count is really low, but the quality of it is really high. And so normal maps are magic. There's no other word for it. And so once again, you see the effect, which looks really smooth, but only the edge is the thing that actually stands out. Everything else is really cool. So we've got that. So that's how you bake that. And then, this is where it gets to the fun stuff. Go back to layers and put cool stuff on it. Like that. Instant UFO. Done. Shiv it. Now I want something a bit scratchy. Much better. Yeah. I like that. And we also say, for example, we want to do something with our glow effect. So we've got that, which is all very nice. And we have our UFO, which is cool. Now, if I wanted to, and I always do, I might want to add some quick detail. And this is where you start getting to tertiary detail on an asset. So if I create a new fill layer up the top, I can turn off some of these. So let's turn off color, roughness, metal, and normal, and just keep height. Put a mask on it, and then start painting this mask with cool mask things. Where is it? Is this one? Yeah. You can get some really cool detail in there. So let's do this. Ooh, I can also paint on here. No. Here. There we go. That's cool. Let's put these in there as well. There we go. Now, because this is a whole layer, and this is the difference in how you think with Substance Painter, everything is a texture, and then you mask it out rather than painting like normal. But the benefits of that is if I click on this and I want that to go under, which I kind of do because that looks better, I'm going to make that more subtle, like that. And then that looks really cool. Also going to add a bit of color. So make it sort of darker, like so. And then we have a really cool base of a UFO. Ta-da! Other things we can quickly do. Let's go here and do just the whole polygon-based cut, because that'll be cool. Like so. That looks nice. And let's do it on the out is here as well. Now note that that will cut through. Maybe there's backface cull. Maybe there isn't, but I'm not too sure because I forget. So let's do, yeah, this one. And then it's just the one, which is what we want. Like so. Now some of these look like it's done, so I'm gonna get rid of those just to make sure it's where I want it. Oh no, I got rid of the thing. Did it? Yeah, it did. Again, undo. Undo. All right, this just goes to my house. Okay, so let's do this one more time at solid on this thing so it doesn't get rid of the ones that I've already done. Done. Cool. We have our UFO. I have to do that one again as well. UFO made. Now, after that, we can just go export textures. I'm going to change where it is. Where is it? Now, I'm going to start putting these things inside the project. And if you go to the project, you'll note that it actually creates these folders. You don't need to use these. I do because they make sense. So I'm going to put them in the textures and just go select folder. Make sure your names are good. We also want to change this output template to Universal Render Pipeline Metallic Standard. Every game engine and 3D tool and thing that uses these will use different rules. Unity uses metallic and smoothness. I think Unreal uses metallic and roughness. It's frustrating. Every game dev knows it, but here we are. And export. Cool. All right. Now, next thing we need to do. So you've sort of seen quickly, very quickly, how I've made assets in Blender. And I'm going to put those assets in our project. So this one goes assets, add your art here, and we need models. Going to drag them from the external source, which I've done, to there. Now, if I recall, UFO low is the one we've just done. UFO finals. We'll give it a shot. Actually, better way to do it. So the textures are there. Another approach, and I should have done this. If you grab these from your thing and drag them into where you want them to be, they won't move them. They'll just copy them. They'll basically import them into your space, which is what you want to do. Now, how are we going so far? Cool. Small note, when you're importing models, I highly recommend selecting all of them, or one of them, whenever you import them, and go to the inspector, which is here, and then go generate lightmap UVs. That's it. That's all you need to know. Just kidding. What that does is when you start light mapping, which we highly recommend because the lighting is honestly better, more performant, but you can't use it with dynamic objects like the avatar. There's ways around that. But when you do this, it will set a second light map UV so that lighting information can go in neatly without overlapping other assets. So that element, generate light map UVs, will apply that for you, and you don't have to worry about it, as long as you worry about that one thing. So make sure you do that. Now, the next thing, we want a material. So let's create a new material. So right mouse click in the folder, go material, and let's go UFO main. And we're going to use the textures that we just made to make it. So we have UFO low metal albedo, which means color. UFO low metal metallic smoothness, which goes here. And we also have UFO low metal normal, which goes here. Normals are special, as noted, and they need to be thought of differently by the engine. And luckily, Unity has a little thing here that allows you to fix it automatically. The other option, of course, is click on the texture and then just go texture type, normal map. You'll notice that texture type is default by standard. So we have that. Yeah. Now let's duplicate that, Control D. And do, let's say rim. Because, now once again, these are not, what would you call it, optimized. There's a large space. So we've got that. Now we have UFO low, which is there. Now these are just models. We're not doing this yet, but I want to show you how I set up every object before, because then every time I drag it in, it'll be how I want it. So UFO low model, go to materials, and we'll have these two here. So we got UFO main and UFO glow apply. We have that, which is very small, which looks very cool. But what is cooler is UFO. That looks pretty cool. I think it's bigger than I expected. Okay. Ta-da! Now, if I wanted to, I could scale it down. Now, note if I drag it into the scene, it'll go to the base, which is not what we want, because we need this asset to be inside space. Another approach, which I actually recommend, is drag this object not in here, but in here. And then you can move it around. Really big. UFOs are automatically cool, I've decided. I did that. Okay. Sure you get what I mean. So there's that. Okay. So let's go on and make a couple of other things. So I'm going to put this back to 0, 0, 0 because there are some other assets that we will make. I'm going to put all of this into one empty game object, UFO. That way we can move everything together. So we have... did I make the window? I did not. Export, FBX. Lasts. Why not? That did not save. So I'm going to actually export that to the right location. So go into our asset, add your art here, models, and then we have these ones. So that's what we want. Okay. There it is there. So in this case, we didn't apply a material. So let's show an example of that. Gloss. Now, in this case, we want glass. We want it to be see-through. So I'm going to put fade. Fade is more performant. It doesn't take into consideration reflection probes. I don't think that's so important with this asset. So we'll do that. We also need to put the alpha down, like so. Smoothness is very high because it's glass. And just for extra style points, let's get metallic in there as well. So if I drop that, notice how that's in. Now I can drag that onto it. But if I drop the glass in again, it'll be the blue. But if I, where is it? Where is it? That one. If I drag the glass onto the asset itself, apply it, and then update it, like so. Every time I put it in, it'll have that material applied. So that's kind of what we want. I want that to be less see-through, just a little bit see-through. That's cool. All right. Now, next up, we want... What do we want? We want the laser blast. No, laser. Let's make it cool. Laser material. What's everyone's favorite color? What color should lasers be? What's that green? I think Immadegen is kind of like that vibe, right? Laser green. Let's go that one. On this one, we want to do cool stuff and make the emission also green. So this will glow. We want our intensity to be about 2. That works. And once again, we need to put that on the asset itself. Laser green. Apply. And we're also going to do it on this one as well. We may not be able to do what I want on this. I want to do sort of like an animated thing, but we'll see how we go for time. Like making a whole space in 2 hours is not really practical. But it's an introduction. Okay, so we want our laser and laser blast to go into our UFO. We want our laser final and the UFO to go up here. And let's put this over here. There we go. Now, I think, if I recall, yeah, a little bit see-through because I did a double layer thing. So what I'd like to do is animate that. So you sort of like looks like a ray going down, which I think would be cool. Like it's right. It's correct. Green is the color of lasers. It's like it's scientific fact. Like you can't. There's no other thing. You know, okay, so that's done. Okay, let's give that a shot. I want to see that. That's yeah, that's done. Okay, check. Drag playground files to here. And then spend so long looking at the portal, the canvas, and the artifact, and then still loading the space. That's really big. And there's only one light, so you can't see it. It's kind of horrifying, though. Ah! Achoo! Yeah, that's pretty funny. Okay, so we have a problem. That's called lighting. So let's look at some lighting. Now, as it stands, we have one directional light. So if I press F, I can go to this. And that's a little too low. So I'm going to maybe do... where do we want it? Dink, dink, dink. Kind of want to put it that way. Okay. So that's cool. Now, when it comes to lighting, real-time lights are very expensive in WebGL. So if you're going to build a space, ideally you want to make sure that you have one light, maximum of 4 real-time lights, depending on how you do it. So if you're more technically advanced and aware of how lighting works, then you can do whatever you like as long as it works. But if you're starting, I'd recommend, 1 or 2 directional light and maybe one more to sort of get this vibe going. I kind of want to change the background. Let's do that. I want to do the whole space. Okay. So, how are we up to? Oh, it's 1 hour. It's not too bad. Hey, Stuart, how's it going? Polyhaven. Now, what Polyhaven is basically a skybox creator. We want night. Let's do a night one. Cool night one. Need a galaxy. Where's the galaxy? I think this one looks like where it's at. Or this one. This one? No. Or this one. Yeah, I think the other one's better. Let's do that. Okay. Or that one. No. A bit glitchy. I think for now, in the short time that we have, I'm going to go with this one. So this is pretty much the only 4K image that you can download. Once again, you have a 180 meg, not once again, I don't think I've mentioned it. You have a 180 meg limit on your playable files space. So a 4K texture is really big. So I don't recommend using that. Skybox, on the other hand, is very big, so it may work out, but once again, get it down as much as you can for reasons. So X up, save that. Okay. Importing the texture there. Now, the process of a skybox is a little bit different than just a normal texture. So, click on your skybox texture. Go to texture shape and go cube. That's it. Go apply. Next up, go to materials, create material, and call it whatever you like. I'm going to go with the really original name of Skybox. And we're going to do standard skybox cube map. And then drag our skybox into it. And that's it. And then we're going to drag our skybox material that we've just created onto that. And notice how, because it's a HDRI, all of the color changes, which is kind of cool. So that's great. Let's change this a little bit to be the same color as this. So it's kind of like a brown. So can I? Ooh, I can. Okay. A little bit lighter. Yeah. 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 That works. Okay. So that's it. Now the problem is you won't see the top of it, and I want to see the top of it. But anyway, we could do a flip. We could do an animated flip. Anyway, do a barrel roll. Okay. Now, if you remember, this material has emissive, so this will actually glow on there, which is kind of great. And I'll do that in an example in a second. So let's move it across there. I'm going to duplicate this light, and I'm going to set this one to baked. And this is very important. So if you're doing light mapping, which is what we're going to do now, I should set that up, is light mapping will improve the lighting a lot. It will do bounced light. So you'll have ambient light and really cool stuff. It will take baked light maps or mixed light maps, which is both real-time and baked, and emissive textures, depending on their intensity, to do cool things. Now, my directional light, I'm going to change the intensity, the real-time one, to 0.6. And I'm going to do the directional light to 0.4. So that's sort of like the general light. I'm going to turn off the shadows because I want everything to be lit a little bit. So let's turn that down to 0.2 and maybe 0.8 because it is nighttime. Actually, that's 0.6. Now, I don't know what it's going to look like as a bake, but this is just a good start, and we'll take our time with that. So, directional light, shadow, and real time. Baked and no shadow. Just so we have a better idea of what's going on there. Okay. So that's our lighting, and we have our emissive. I'm hoping that because it's transparent, it won't mess up. Now, if you remember, we put generate light map UVs on all of our models. That's very important. But the next thing we need to do is make sure that all of our assets that we want to bake into our lighting are set to, technically, this one, contribute GI. But the easiest way is just turn static on, which will be all of things. No time to go into it, but roughly these will be different optimization tools, or if it's baked in a reflection probe. If we get time, we'll look at that as well. But yeah. So that's all static. Yep, all that static, which is what we want. I could actually turn this to static as well, and it will change all children. So there's a few different approaches to that. By the way, if you have any questions, feel free. I'm trying to keep track of the comments as well. But yeah, very focused. But if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. Now, next one. Ooh, let's save. We've done things. That's pretty cool. I like that. Actually, let's do this. Rim emission. Yeah, better. All right. So for light mapping, after generate UVs on each model, we have to go to the lighting panel. This is not up by default, so to find that, you can go to Window, Rendering, Lighting, and then you have this. So as noted, let's say two real-time light maps at most to start. But in this case, I'm only using one and then turning this one to baked. And all the assets that you want to include in this are set to static. And then we can create new lighting settings. Leave most of it. I'm going to turn down a lot of these numbers to save time. I'm going to put that up. There's not much in the space, so I'm going to just put that to 80. Depends on how many spaces. I'm going to put that up to 2048. And I'm going to turn on ambient occlusion. Done. I'm going to make progressive GPU. That's it. I'm going to save it. Because of all the things that crash Unity, this is one of them. So, highly recommended. Don't do anything in light mapping. So, yeah, hit that button and do not touch your computer. You have a higher chance of surviving, but the results are pretty cool. So, we'll give that a shot. All right. The stream will slow down a bit, so I'm just going to press this, do nothing, and see how we go. I gotta make my webcam look cool as well. So let's see. Done it? It's done it? Oh. Okay. Interesting. So it worked. That's a start. Now, after that, because I think it unpacked a lot of the assets, that will add a bit of time to the first pass. Theoretically, it'll be faster after that, but I won't be doing that too much on the stream. If you go to your lighting and baked light maps, you can sort of see what it's doing. So this, for example, is the floor. The green is there. I'm not sure why it isn't here. So that's interesting. We'll look at that in a sec. And then we have our light map on the UFO. Okay. And down here as well. So yeah. So this is what Unity does to make the light map work. But as noted, not sure why. Like it is kind of working, but it's also kind of not. It's also very dark. Okay, so the other thing we're going to do is add some add a reflection probe. Oops, that's what I was going to do. No, get rid of that. I'm going to create empty and call this probes. So for the best spaces, basically you need a couple of other things. If you're using metallic, like we are on the UFO, you will need reflection probes. Now reflection, is it working? So now after that, because I think it unpacked a lot of the assets, that will add a bit of time. Okay. Interesting. I don't know what's going on. Okay. It's getting better. Never ever do light mapping on stream. Okay. I'm just gonna hope for no moment and see how that goes. Now a reflection probe. A reflection probe. I'm not sure it's working well. Anyway, I'll hope for the best. A reflection probe will take baked information and use that as the reflection. The problem is that baked information is static. So the avatar and things like that will not be included, but it looks better, for example. So basically anything inside this box is going to use this baked information. So let's put that up there and there because that's where the player can go. Like so. And then we can just bake it here. Now, if I light map, which I'm not going to do, it will also bake these. Okay. Now it's fast. Okay, cool. Bake. Right, so as you can see, we have our UFO, we have our laser stream. So anywhere that the player runs will have this reflection on it. Now, if I wanted to, say I have a more complicated space, and I want to sort of put that in. Now, notice I can't push it further. That's because the reflection probe spot is kind of there. So I can duplicate that one and then edit this one so it looks like a different location in that area of the map. So here I will have this reflection and here I will have this reflection. So that actually looks pretty good. Now what will happen, and this bit's pretty cool, is if you have overlapping light maps like these two, the reflections will transition between the two. So over here, I will be a little bit of that, and then when I go over to this one here, I'll be fully in this one. So that's really cool. So let's bake that one as well. So you have like a straight line there, and then let's bake that one, and have a bigger bake there. So that'll be different. So reflection probes are great. Now the next thing we want to do is add light probes. Because we're using baked information, lighting, reflection probes, all the rest of it, light probe will allow the information on dynamic objects like the avatar to have a semblance of the lighting that is baked, which is what we want. If I had this space with no light probes, the avatar might be black, or the completely wrong color. Now, in changes of color, we want more light probes, if that makes sense. So I'm actually going to keep them there, duplicate, and just using the edit light probes here to move these around. And just make sure they're above the ground, which they are. Okay. And then we can just sort of duplicate a lot of these. So if I ran outside of these light probes, like out here, because there's no other light probe to compare it against, it won't look great. So I'm actually going to leave. Well, let's. How can I do it? How can I show it? Let's just get rid of these ones. There we go. And grab these. Now, if you're looking at an interior or something like that, then these, of course, will be more complicated. Areas of large light change will require more of these. So let's move these out a little bit more, and these ones as well. But let's say, for example, here we're going to have a lot more light change because of the lights. So I'm actually going to grab one line and put them kind of between. So when you get closer, the light of the laser that is perfect green will be more accurate. So light probes are really good for fixing dynamic object lighting in a baked light environment. And if you've been paying attention, that makes sense. And if you've just joined in, probably not. But once again, we have tutorials for all of these things. We go into more detail. So have at it. So yeah, we've got that. Save. Now, I might have to light map again, just to get all this information done. I want to make sure that I can't jump higher than those assets. So I'm actually going to put that down a little bit to there, and then duplicate up to there. Assuming you can't jump that high. Okay, cool. So we've got that. I'll do another bake later because I have one idea that I want to show. Okay, so we'll do a test on this before I do one more test. How are we going for time? Pretty good. This is an hour and a half. We've basically got a whole space done. Kind of. I have some cool ideas though. All right. Now let's check the file size. So I'm going to right mouse click. This is currently 50 meg. A large part of that is probably the so here 54. A large part of that is probably the 4K texture. All right. Something is behind me. I wonder what it is. Ah! There's our light mapping. Cool. So notice how the lighting on the very chromic asset is kind of representative of how far I go from... Oops. Oh no! There we go. How far we go away from the asset and which direction I'm facing. So that's what the light probes do. Now, if I recall, the light probes do not exist over here, but I think they're probably just on the last example. So yeah, light probes are useful because it's facing the right direction. So we got that. Cool. Delete. Now, what else do we need? Summary. So we've looked at everything. Building a space. Done. We've looked at portals. We've looked at canvases. We've looked at artifacts. We've looked at creating assets quickly in Blender. We've done a high polygon version of it in Substance Painter. We've imported main materials in Unity. We've looked at creating a custom skybox, and that's it. We've got a space. Now, next phase. I don't want to do a light map. I would like to see what the light mapping looks like, and maybe that's why the character was a little bit off, because I'm not sure the light probes update without a bake. So that could be it, but we'll see. So, I have an idea. Let's go next gen. So, we need a UFO surprise. So the plan is, what I want to do is, if you get hit by the laser, you get teleported into the UFO, and there's a cool dance floor. That's the thing. So I have actually already made this. Oops. So let's set this up correctly. So we need our materials that are not done properly. Yeah, let's relook at that. This one. Now, what I've done here is in games, a normal is kind of a direction in space. So normal maps tell an asset which direction lighting is. A normal on a polygon is which way is up. Polygons in games have one side. So if I look at an example, for example, the canvas, we have our polygon normal facing this way, but this way it is clear. Now, there are special shaders that allow you to have two-sided, but for the most part, once again, that's more expensive, so you have to reduce those as much as possible. And in this case, we want our party, or our nightclub, inside the UFO. Now, to do that, I'm going to do some stuff to make this happen. Now, this looks like, in Blender, this looks like it's the right way. So if you're having issues with normals, I recommend using face orientation. Red is out, blue is forward, if that makes sense. So if I look through the top, I can sort of see that my asset is here. And that's what I want to do. So I'm going to look at this and check the UVs. Yeah, these are different. I'm not going to make a UV map texture in Unity for this one. I will eventually, but not today. So that should be fine. All the thing we want to do. Now, to make a character warp from one place to another, we have a thing called warp volumes. So I'm going to do that with this. So you're for surprise. It's going to be under here. Now notice how I can see through it this time. So the top one, I can not, and the bottom one, I can. It's going to be really big. So I'm actually going to make that smaller. 0.5? Yeah, I think that's good. Now I'm hoping, because this is a occluder, if I can't see that, this will not be rendered. So let's do something else with materials. UFO large. Just as an example. Now, if you want to, so we used Polyhaven to grab a skybox, but they also have textures. So let's get a cool metal texture. Green metal rust. There's only 8, really? Okay. So I'm going to use something else. On the docs, we have a category called resources, textures. The first one's pretty good. Let's go metal. Much better. Blue. What's a cool one? That one. Yep. Now, note on all textures other than the skybox, we want 2K. Now, notice how on this one it's metal roughness, and we can try and clean that up in Photoshop afterwards. So I'm going to download that, save. Now, this is a zip. Hang on. I want to delete that. I want to get that. Maybe not. Okay. Yeah. So download again. Save as. I'm going to put this in the assets folder first. And then I'm going to unzip it to where we want it to go. So there. Textures. Cool. Metal tiles. Extract here. Pew. So we got those. So that works. Imported. So we have our metals. So let's put that as a base color. Let's put that as a normal. Fix that. Then we have that. Now, this is, where is it? That's not going to work. Maybe it will. Okay, we'll give it a shot. There's good. Okay. And let's make it a little bit blue. Right. Now, we imported this and it didn't have a material. That's fine because we can drag the material onto it like so. Now, notice that the texture is really big, but that's easily fixed by changing the tiles. So let's go 20. 20. How's that? Yeah, okay. 25. That'll do for a very large asset like that. And what we... yeah, we'll leave that. Okay. Now this one, we have a collider on that, which is just a box collider, which is best. This one is kind of like a curved object. So we could actually put a mesh collider on it, and that's okay, because the poly count on this is very low. But if you have a really high polygon asset, you want to create a optimized mesh for the collider, so it doesn't have to check as many polygons. So just keep that in mind. Tutorials on that in the docs. You're more than welcome to have at. But for today, this is a low enough polygon asset that I can just go mesh collider, and that'll be it. Now, because the normal facing that way, it should be okay. So we'll see. But it'll be interesting. Now, we have our asset. I'm going to create another asset because there is nothing... what did I say it was? 0.5. There is no party without a mirror ball. And from what Immadegen looks like, they need a mirror ball. So for that, we need a chrome material. So metallic, smoothness is high. That's kind of what we want to do. I'll have to do another reflection probe in here so we get that effect. I'm going to fudge this a little bit, because if that goes to full, like the reflection probe asset has to be really high quality, which is very high resolution, which is very large file size. If we go to 0.8, this can be a much lower file size. So we can do that. Let's put metal, chrome. Ta-da. We're going to animate that now, actually. Because it's a chrome ball and it has to be animated. So, for animation, let's get this in here. Click on the asset. It doesn't have an animator here yet because we're going to add one. Go to animation or an animator. We'll need that later if we're doing reactor. Might not do it this session, tutorial, you name it. But these are in window, animation, animation, or animator. So with that, click on the asset or a parent that you want to animate. So if I put an animation on this one, I can animate both of these assets. If I put an animation on this one, I can't animate this one. So keep track of which ones have what. But this is just a simple rotation. So I'm going to go create. Let's go make a mirror ball. Done. Okay. Turn on the recorder. Turn on rotation. I hold down Control so I can snap it like left and then right back to its original state. Let's say it is a slowish mirror ball. 5 seconds. And for a full loop, we want this to be 360. Now I can't see that, so I'm going to go down, and then you can see how much it's going there. Now if I go play, a bit too fast. Let's go 20 seconds. There we go. That looks excellent. Now, because the default type, let's go down to curves, is sort of ease in and ease out. So I'm going to go F to make that clearer, like focus on whatever I'm on. This works on the space as well. So if I press F, I can focus on different assets. So if I go to curves again, I can do that. So notice how there's ease in and ease out. But I want this to rotate clean, so I can put this to auto. So right mouse click on selected, go auto, and you'll notice that the curves are kind of what I do. So if I do play, it'll just look cool. Kind of want that higher because that'll be nice. Yeah, that's nicer. Like that. That's actually too high. Yeah, that's good. Okay. And that's it. That's animation. That said, once again, I'll see how the team feels in the 2-hour mark or later mark. But animation is where the magic of Reactor is. And Reactor is our tool for adding interaction to the space because there are no custom strips. Because if you open custom scripting with the web, by web. So basically we've got this different approach. So when it comes to Reactor, basically what happens is you have Animator. So Animator will allow you to control different animations. So let's say I have idle and I have open door. I can make a transition to different animations and I can tell it to go somewhere in a very complicated or very simple animator when I enter a collider or when I exit a collider, and we'll be adding more events in the future. So if we get time, we'll look at that as well, but we'll see how we go. All right. So we have that. Another thing that I wanted to do was this one. So if I go 0.5, I think it was, and then F, we can move that down. Now here's an example of where the normal maps are incorrect. So I might need to go in here, hide this one, get the floor. Yeah. And flip these. So go to that one, select all the assets by polygon, go to mesh. Where is it? Where is it? Normals, flip. And then when we go like that again, it's all blue, except that one. So I'm going to use Control L to select all of that asset, mesh, normals, flip. Mesh, normals, flip. Okay, so now that that's all blue, it should be facing the right way. So I can grab these assets again and export. And the benefits of Unity is that when I save over something, it'll update in here automatically. So that's cool. Now I do I have it? I have an idea. Floor base color, that one. Here's one we prepared earlier. So let's go models. Let's go materials. Let's duplicate laser green. And just call this laser floor. Now I want to put this floor base color on the emissive and maybe turn that down a bit. So let's go 1. So you have this sort of edge there. So that way you can adjust how glowy something is. And I want this to start white because the plan is to animate it. And if we get a chance, I want to animate it when you walk on it differently. So that'll be cool. So for that, we want, what do we want? Laser floor. We want to put that on the asset, which is our model here. Nope, there. Now I didn't apply a material, so I can just grab the assets and put it on there manually. So laser floor. Yep. Is opaque. That's a UV map issue. It doesn't work as well as I'd like. I had ideas. Because no, not that either. That's what I want. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Do. Okay, cool. So that UV map is incorrect. Everything else is mostly right because that looks pretty cool. Just for effect, let's change the color to green, blue, pink, 100%. There we go. Now that looks really high, so I'm actually going to move that down to about there. Now the plan was, let's grab these 4 and duplicate them, and then rotate them from the pivot. Now, the reason I don't want to do that is because I want to create one reactor and then duplicate that. So we'll look at that later. Cool. All right. So let's do a quick test of that. We need a reflection probe for this one. So let's go light, reflection probe. Where'd it go? There. Move the whole asset down because that includes the probe itself and the box. So we want that to be down here. And then we want this to be accurate to everyone inside this asset. So regardless of where you go, because people will always go up, I'm going to do that. And then position the thing to be about avatar height, so it reflects from there, and go bake. Now notice how there is no spaceship, just the things up top, because this is not set to static yet. So let's do that. And let's also, where is it? This one. I did generate that. I'm better than I thought it was. I'm going to just put that on everything, apply. Okay. So that's set to static now. Is the burr ball? That's dynamic. But the reflection, so in the reflection probe, you won't see the detail of the mirror ball. So even if it's baked, that's fine. So it's going to move, but what it's going to do is not move in space. It's just going to rotate. So that's fine to do. If I want to, I can adjust some of these things, but I actually do want that in there. Hope that made sense. And we also want the floor to affect the lighting. So I'm going to put that on there as well. And that's kind of it. Once again, don't want a light map until the end. Because reasons. Now, any questions? Okay. Got a question here. What mouse? Best in Blender? The thing is, I'm very, 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 very biased towards Razer purely because I like lights. Like, my whole apartment is connected to my computer and my TV. So if I'm watching a really good example of Zootopia, which has different color sets for different parts of the movie, my whole apartment will be the same color. It's great. But yeah, I have a Razer keyboard, a Razer microphone, a Razer mouse, a Razer mousepad, Razer fans in my computer, a Razer monitor actually. So I've got the package deal. That said, I think Logitech and Razer are usually pretty good bets. But it depends on your case, and also depends on what you're doing. If you're sculpting in Blender, which is something you can do, I use ZBrush because I come from a ZBrush background, but Blender also has sculpting, which is insane. Tablet is also important. So I have two graphic tablets, Intuos big and Intuos medium for the laptop. So yeah, I have a lot of stuff. I don't buy anything else except technology. Everything else is like, I think last time I bought a t-shirt was 2.5 years ago in London when I went there. So yeah. That said, a good mouse is very important. I also kind of recommend a glove. This is more for graphic tablets. So you don't because you have a lot of tablets now that are touch sensitive. So you have gloves that sort of turn that off. But the thing is, I have issues with my wrist here, so I have a bit of padding between me and the rest of the world for that sort of thing. So many different approaches to dealing with all of the things. Okay, back to the space. Now, what I want to do is create a warp volume so that when I touch this, I end up here. So warp volumes need two things. A warper. This is not the technical language. And a warpy. Now, the warper can be anything. The warper can be any asset. The warpy can be anything as well, but I'm going to make it very clear what these are. Yeah, Razer everything. for better or worse. So say for example, I heard recently their webcam is not great, which is a pity because I was thinking about getting a webcam for the new setup or the digital nomad setup. But yeah, it didn't even come up in the top 10, I think. So I might be looking at a different webcam for that. It won't light up. I'll be very disappointed, but there's that. Okay, so warp volumes discussion. A warp E is where it goes to. So as it stands, the warp is at 0, 0, 0. And if I put the pivot and local on, the blue arrow is the direction you will face when you get there. Now, this could be any asset. I could actually make it this, because that is in the right place. And it's the pivot point of the object. But I want a little more control, because I want the warp object to spawn just above the ground. Actually, let's make it drop. Because that'd be kind of fun. Yeah, home. My view is home is where the hard drive is. So Like this place is the shell of what I actually exist in. So the fact that I've sort of ramped up my laptop to have 3 screens, a tablet, um, a new mic that's probably as good as this one. Yeah, I'm literally, I could 100% live in a carry-on. So that's a thing. All right. So the warp E is going to go here. And that's it. That's all we need is a transform location to teleport to. The warper, on the other hand, could be any asset with a collider, but I pretty much always keep this separate just so I have more control. So I'm going to add a warp, Mona warp. So we have warp volume. Now with this, we also need a box collider. So if I type in box, go box collider. Now the warper, let's move it over here. Move it up a bit. And press F to zoom in a bit so we can see it there. So let's set up the box collider first. With a lot of this, there's no order. Do what you want, man. That one. And that one. Note with colliders, you're basically always modifying the dots on the end of it. You can't grab just anywhere, which is a pity. That said, if you use this... Oh, no, that doesn't work with colliders. That's unfortunate. So yeah, dots it is. And let's do jump height as well. Actually, you know what? The science. So we have that. So if you touch that collider, you will teleport. Now, small note with warp volumes and PPVs, you have a mouse without the scroll? What is that? Who does that? How archaic are you? Wait, hang on. Are you a Mac user? Okay, anyway, back to the point. Easily distracted by the chat. Warp volumes. So if you're using a warp volume or a PPV, which is a playout property volume, you do have to set your box collider is trigger to on, so you can walk into it. If that is off, you'll just use it as a collider, and it won't do the thing you want it to. So there's that. So collider setup. Now we want our warp point where we go to be our warp E. Now once again, this could be any asset with a transform. And so that's that. Now if I put use rotation on, I will be rotated to the asset's local pivot direction. So once again, if we go to that and we put pivot and local on, the blue is forward. So I can make it face that direction if I want. But in this case, I kind of want it to fall further, actually. That'd be kind of fun. But in this case, I don't actually want that. I want them to turn up sort of any direction, because I think that'll look good when people are just appearing on the dance floor and falling down. So that's a warp. This asset is purely so I can move it around easily. So the warp volume itself is at 000, which is here. But I actually don't want that. I want it there. And therefore, I would need to modify this to be accurate. So I do this all the time. It's a very common thing to do where you're creating an asset. You're putting it in an empty game object, but then not moving the game object. So everything will be in the center. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to move the asset correctly, everything should be based on that. So once again, because the warper was put where okay, how do you explain this? Because it was at 0, I moved all of the assets in it across here. So when I've reset the 0, it moved all of that information across as well. So I'm going to move that across, right? And then we have to edit the thing back. So there's a whole thing with positioning in Unity. and very important to use. We won't scroll shame. Well, actually, will we? I'll max shame 100%, but I'm not going to scroll shame. I have issues with Mac. Now, so an extension of that is every asset will be based on the location of its parent. So if you note here, 0, 0, 0, and let's move the box collider up. So we've got that. So this is 16 across, but this is actually at 0, 0, 0. And this is very important with animation and things like that because it'll be based on the parent, not the world, for a lot of this sort of stuff. So just keep track of that when things are going or animating or being weird. So there's that. Okay. So if I touch that, I will hopefully get warped to this. Do I want that to be... Yeah, no, I don't want that to be a mesh collider. I'm just going to make that low, so you sort of... Yep, that's fine. Okay. Save. Playground. Drag and drop. Now, we added a whole thing, but the properties are it's like half a meg bigger, maybe 1. So, yeah. All right, let's see how we go. There we go. Okay, so that was off for some reason, so we're gonna have to check that out. We probably didn't. Yeah, we didn't move the warp E. We moved the warp R. So that's the thing. This is an accurate size for a metaverse dance floor. Now notice how there's light there. That's cool. We can do some cool stuff with that as well. But anyway, yeah. And our mesh works. Okay. Warp achievement unlocked. All right. Pro PC all the way. So how are we going, people? You want more? I kind of do. This is fun. I kind of want to do a reactor. Let's do a reactor. You can turn it off whenever you want. I'm just gonna keep going. So what Worldbuilding done? I'm gonna move that up. Warp E. So notice how because we moved the spaces of these, the warp E is also 18. So I'm going to make that 0, and that's there on the warp volume. So we actually need to make that where we want it, which is about here. So that should work. All right. Next up, let's do the coolest dance floor possible. Now for that, what we need to do, I'm gonna, because this is gonna be a little bit complicated, I'm gonna keep this separate. Hang on, did I? No, I did. They're all static. Probes, reflection probe. Rebake that. Okay. So I didn't rebake this when I need to. It will automatically rebake if I do the light mapping. But after making it light probe, after making it static, the large UFO finals and this, the reflection probe will accurately depict all of the things, which is kind of what we want. Now, there is a note that I forget how to counter this. If you have a highly reflected object in a reflection probe, it doesn't really pick up, and that's probably fine for now. There is a way around it, but I forget how. If anyone in the chat remembers, feel free to tell me. Oh, maybe intensity, importance. Okay. So on this one, what we're going to do as well is I'm going to turn this one up a bit. So let's say 512. And bake that. And this will increase the quality of the bake, so that the metallic here will be better. So if I made it 2048 by 2048, which I do not recommend, this will improve. But once again, you can't really see it because these are flat and like being projected. So this is a super huge file size because it's 2048 by 2048. But it's not really making any difference. So if we went down to like 128, 128, and baked again, it's faster. Was that it? Yeah, literally that's it. But it doesn't make any difference. Now, if this was a smooth shape, that would make a huge difference. So choosing every space will be a balance between, what is it? File size, quality, and speed. Both in how long does it take to make, and how long does it take to like render, things like that. You cannot have 100% on all three. So you could probably do a really good space, but it'll be take a long time because you'll have to optimize everything. You'll have to make everything like spend a lot of time optimizing all of the different elements. You'll have to technically approach occlusion, stuff like that. That's it. If you do it really fast, it might look really good, but the file size would be too big. So sort of balancing all three is where you want to go with a lot of game dev. Now, if you have something like Unreal 5 that you can download and it's a 20 gig program, or however big Cyberpunk 2077 was, which was insane, 50 gig or something, yeah, you have some more room. But when you have an 180 meg, there are some choices that you will need to make. Anyway, moving on. So we have our cool disco ball. That's going to be cool. So that's excellent. Next up. Oh, that's what I was doing. Importance, intensity. Looping planes? Not that. I forget what it was. It's lagging? There you go. That was, yeah. It was lagging because of the baking. Anything with baking at the end of it will slow everything down. I can guarantee it. Okay. So we have our metallic and we want our floor. So we want our floor. I'm going to actually unpack this because I'm going to really destroy it. So unpack will get rid of prefabs. That's the whole thing. I'm going to skip that this session. But I'm going to do a lot of things to this. I want our laser floor to start at white. No, gray. Yeah, there. Cool. All right. So what we want is each of these assets are going to be a reactor. But first, I'm not even going to worry about reactor. I'm going to animate these first. So I want to edit all of them. No, I want to edit each one. Oh, and they're different assets as well. No, I got to fix that. Hang on. Control L to select. So the reason I'm splitting these up is because I want each of these to be triggered separately. I kind of want to fix this as well. That's fine. I gotta fix it. I have to fix it. For those reasons. Okay, so that's fine. This is not. So I'm going to put that here because that is kind of where the texture is. I know that because I made the texture, so don't worry about that too much. Let's export that. Let's rename some things. Naming is extremely important. I highly recommend getting into the habit of naming correctly. Let's just go 2. Can use numbers. That's a thing I have access to. Yeah. So naming is super important because everything. That's not a ring. This is a tile. Let's go 1. Especially with reactor, because you're going to be calling these up a lot. And if you are not sure what it's going to do, reactor gets really hard because you're playing with a lot of different assets doing a lot of different things. So make sure that your naming is foolproof. Is the word I'm going with. So let's go floor final. Export that. Now, sometimes it will break. Now, the reason it breaks is because, one, I unpacked this so it doesn't know what it's doing. And I can't update this very easily. So I'm just going to delete this and put our laser floor object back in the floor. And I think it was 0.5, 0.5 by 0.5. Move that down. A little bit higher, like so. And then we can add our asset as well on each of the assets. So, which one was that? Laser floor. Not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, can't do it all at once. So it's literally 1 by 1. There we go. Okay, back on that. Floor is not a collider, which is what we want. Let's go down a little bit. So with that, that looks better now. And let's try again. Let's leave that because if I update it, then that'll all be updated. So I'm going to leave that. So if you unpack it, it will lose the connection to the model. I don't know why I'm pointing, but there we go. So there's different approaches to it. That said, we have different assets, so we can do that. So that said, I'm going to put an animator on every single. Yeah. Now, there's different approaches to this. There's the quick and the slow. I'm going to try the quick and see what happens. So I'm going to put an animator on it. Yeah. I'm going to spell and no, I'm going to do that the quick way as well. So animation doesn't have an animator, so I can create it using animation. So let's go Floor, no, tiles, color, floor, color, tiles, and 0. So this is going to be a stage thing. So the thing we want to do is on this asset, we want to make the color white. That's what we want. That's basically it. Now, what we're going to do is using one tile, we're going to transition between each one. But for each animation, we need a new clip. So tiles 1. Record. Change that to pink, 100%. So that's great. Create new clip. Tiles 2. Record. HDR. Green. Good. Let's do 4 tiles. I could do a lot, but I'm going to do 3. I'm going to do 4. Record. HDR blue. Yep. Kind of want another one. 4. Now note on all these, I'm changing one thing, and this will animate in a very specific way on all of them. So let's go red, yellow. Yeah, yellow. That's where it's at. Okay. Now, if we go to animator on this asset, we will have our animations. Now, what we want to do, basically, is tell reactor to transition between these when we do a thing. So once again, I'm not using reactor yet. I'm just using the animator. So we have our 4. So make transition, make transition, make transition, make transition. And then we're going to go back at the end, sort of like a loop. Let's make it look like a loop. See, that's pretty. That works. Put that over there. Anyway, not important. I don't know if you're like me, but everything's got to be right. Anyway, so the next thing we need to do is create a parameter. So when you go to animator, it will have a layers. We want to create a parameter. And we want... Let's go with a simple... Nah. Let's go trigger. Yeah. And just call it color with a capital C. Now, a trigger will trip the event and then reset the state. So every time you trigger it, it will go to the next one. Other ones you have access to is booleans, so true or false, ints or whole numbers, and float, which is decimal numbers. So one approach maybe, but this is a bit tricky, is add a number to it, and every time it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. The problem with that is when it gets to 4, you would have to reset it to 0, which is quite difficult to do. So I'm going to try this one, and hopefully this will work. So, magic of animator. Now we want this to happen anytime. So I'm going to turn off the has exit time. If you want to have it at the end of the animation, you can put the exit time on, but I don't. I just want it when someone walks into it, switch the thing. Now, when you turn that off, it will do it when you tell it to. So when color is done on this asset, hopefully, it will trigger this event. And not sure it's in here. There it is. So we can see there. So that is the transition time. Now we actually want this to be pretty quick, right? Because it's a dance floor. That's how dance floors work. So when you go, so this is why you can use 1 frame animations to do transition. So if I had a door, I could have door open as 1 frame and door open as 1 frame, and then this will transition as long as the pivot is in the right location between those two. So you don't have to animate it manually. You can just do transitions like that, which is pretty cool. So when color is triggered, change the color. And we're going to do that to everything. So has exit time, 0.01, color. Has exit time, 0.01, color. So every time that I tell this asset color, trigger, do the thing. Oops. So I'm hoping this works because I'm not too sure, but it should. Theoretically. I didn't put the parameter in there. So if you turn off the has exit time, there is no reason for it to change. So you have to put a parameter in there. If has exit time is on, it will go to the next animation at the end of the last animation. So you can sort of bounce between those things if you want. So let's double check. Off, trigger, off, trigger, off, trigger, off, trigger, off, trigger. Excellent. So that's it. Pay attention to the parameter. We'll need that. So the animator is now set up. We have our clips. We have our animator and the different conditions. And now we can set up our reactor. So let's move that down. Now we want tiles. Now I'm hoping we can actually copy this animation to other assets, but we'll see. So we'll see. Now I'm going to create an asset under this and call it tile 1. Nope. And we're going to make sure that animation is off when we do that. That is a very common thing to do. Try not to. I guarantee you will. Okay, so our reactor. So we need a reactor. Mona reactor. These are the two triggers that we have at the moment. So when you enter the trigger, do a thing, or when you exit the trigger, do another thing, or the same thing if you wanted to. And we also need a box collider. So when I walk into it, it does the thing. Now this will be at the origin of the pivot, which is here. So I can move it around. So this needs to be above the asset itself. Like so. Up top. Now note, you cannot rotate an asset, a collider, but you can rotate the collider asset. The problem is, the pivot is here, but if I change to the center of the object, I can actually do that if I want to. So that is something you can do with elements there. An asset with a collider on it, so I can do that. So we have our collider. This one doesn't need to be as trigger, so leave that off, that's fine. We want this to change on enter trigger. Don't worry about this. UI in editor Unity is a bit tricky, so we'll just leave that as. Name is not important, it just changes element 1. So let's change this to tile. Well, let's just go to switch. We want to set this animator parameter, which was color with a capital C, trigger, and we don't need a value because it doesn't need a value. So this is just a trigger. Do the thing. If we made it local, this would be to the person. Let's keep it multiplayer and see how that goes. All right. That's it. Let's do a test. If you are new to Reactor, I highly recommend starting small. If you are advanced with Reactor, I still recommend starting with start. You will always forget something. And if your first one is wrong and then you copy that around, it's not fun. So start small, test often with Reactor. because there's a couple of different things that can go wrong with the asset, with the animator, with the reactor, with the collider, with the variables, things like that. Run to the light. Ah, cool. Now, hopefully, dink, 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 dink. And that's what we want. Now, interestingly enough, I've noticed that the trigger will... Unity's trigger approach is a bit weird. Sometimes it'll last longer. It's not as instant as you would expect. So it's a bit weird. So keep that in mind. So our trigger works. So let's see. Not too sure, but let's see if our trigger can be copied onto a separate object. So this one, I'm going to reduce that. I'm going to add an animator here. And then I'm going to copy our controller from that one. Yeah. And then that's it. And then I'm actually going to copy this one. Copy. Paste it on this one. Paste. On that one. And then move this to here. Right. And then I'm going to change that one to this. And then see what happens. Yeah. Excellent. This is exactly what I wanted. Fantastic. So yeah, this is taking React. Like, I don't expect anyone who has just started on React to be able to make these connections. But and so you could manually do it, and that would have the same effect. That said, this will save me a bit of time, which means I can do cooler things in a shorter period of time. So yeah, there's that. Once again, I have tutorials on how to make doors, how to make elevators, and a better summary of what you can do with Reactor in the docs. So check them out. Okay. Once again, Control C, Control V, put that in there. Move this to there. Excellent. Now these can go a bit wider now. Might do that on the last one as well, just to make sure it hits correctly. Nice. And then this is a tile 3. Done. And same again. So animator, tile, paste, move. Okay. Okay. That needs to go there. So it'll pick this object and then go to the animator. And this one will for some reason, not too sure, but it does, and this is what I wasn't too sure about, it will pick up the asset directly. So I'm not too sure why it knows this one and to update that. It could just be this asset. Actually, that might be it. The animator will pick up the asset position regarding to where the animator is, and it will update accordingly. So I'm not too sure what this controller will connect, but luckily it has allowed us to save a bit of time on that. So there's that. Okay. Okay, let's do a test. Put this at the pivot. I want to do the rings as well, but I want to do a quick test with how well these work. I hope this matches at the end. Now, because these are going to be dynamic, but the reflection probe is not. I'm going to do one thing to make this look good. So if I grab the reflection probe in here, that's pink. But if I bake it now, none of these are... Well, actually, let's just do the parent. Okay, so that should work. So bake, we'll have that. Now that's a boring color. I don't want that to be white. I want it to be pink. So for that, we're going to go to our animator in here and change the... like this. Actually, that's less important. We have to change the base material. The animation will override it. So once again, I think pink is the preferred layer. If I wanted to, I could actually change all of... I could change all of them. Okay, I could manually change all of them. I guess. I'm not going to. Time, but that is something we could do. So that's sewed. If I bake again, that'll be pink, which is what we want. Let's just do this. No, it is the material. So it's all one in this particular case. It could take more resources to fix this up, but I'm not going to. I could also maybe do it in animation, so each first frame is different, but we'll leave it for now. Once again, there's so many things you could do if you have the time. But let's give this a shot and see how it looks. Playground. So as more people hang out, this would be really cool. Excellent. Now, this is pink at all times because, once again, the light probes, but this won't update because this is like... hang on. The reflection probe is based on... The light probes and reflection probe is based on static information. So this light won't really change the reflections, which is a bit unfortunate. So you could, once again, go into a way to make all of these unique. And then update that. Now, I want all of these. Let's see if we can do this quickly. To have an animator. I want all of these to have the tile set. And this time I'm going to paste okay. So this is going to be a quick version. So let's put on the asset itself. Go, 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 go. There we go. Ring. Now I could make these mesh collider. I'm going to hide the gizmos because those are getting tricky. But for now, let's just do one collider on each. And then put the asset there. I'm going to copy that. Paste it there. Oh, I can paste as child. So that's interesting. Paste as child. That's what we want. It's a ring 2. Where's the collider here? Because I hid that. So for now, I'm just going to reduce the gizmo size because we need the gizmos on this one. And then edit that to be sort of here for now. Copy that, paste as child, ring 3. Edit. Copy that. And ring 3, good. And paste as child, ring 4. Do. Okay. Done. So hopefully that'll animate those as well. Save. Okay. So that's that. Do I want to? Now, once again, if I make that blue, that's all blue. Can I bake with different colors? I don't think so. I'd actually have to have 4 different colors and then update them all. So yeah, that'll take too long for this. Could be done, but okay. Save. Now we need to add some light probes down here as well. So I'm going to do that here. So light probes, edit. Grab them all. Duplicate. You might not be able to see on the stream, but it's happening. So yeah, just quickly, once again, like super quickly, just do that, and that's fine for now, because they'll fall into that. Save. Okay. I think there's one bake I want to do, but I'm going to test that one more time. It is a lot of pink. A lot of green. A lot of pink. Okay. I think it's ready to go. That's pretty funny. I could also maybe, oh yeah. So what I could also do is animate all of the animations so that they go they go in and out. I got time. 3 hours. I'm going to stop. So let's look at that animation. Click on one of the assets that do it. Floor, Tile. This one. Okay. So for this, let's do... Does anyone know the average beats per minute of every song known to man? And how many seconds is that? Okay, so let's go F so we can see it. Now I have to do this with every single thing. Now, note how it's still pink, but you have to move it to see the update. What's 100? Okay, 128 beats per minute. 128 divided by 60. It's 2 seconds. Sure. Now what we want to edit once again is the intensity. So we want to get that down to sort of 0. Color? Really? We changed the color. Okay. Ooh, maybe you can't. Can you? What? Hang on. Emission intensity is not there. Can you not animate it? Maybe not. Interesting. So some things cannot be animated. So the recorder's on, that is not. But so what I'm going to do instead... No, it's working. Interesting. So let's go that, and then go to 2 and see what happens there. So HDR, back to 0. Is it 0? No, 0.5. The thing is also, if this is bloom, this will hopefully make a difference. So let's go 0.2, actually. Oh, there it is. Glossiness. What? Remove. Yeah, maybe it's not animatable. So, well, maybe it is. I don't know. No. Yes, that's what we want. So 2 seconds, beats per minute, depends on the situation. So let's look at that again. This time it's pink. Yeah. Now notice the timeline works in sort of frames and seconds. So 55 to 1. So just a note on that. So once again, this needs to be 0.2. 1 second needs to be 1. 2 seconds needs to be 0.2. Dink, dink. Excellent. Port 2. Using my middle scroll button to adjust the scale. I have no idea how you do things without one, to be honest. One, 2, 2. And last one. So because of how I've set it up, this is all based on one animation set. So I'm hoping that all of these animations are going to update correctly to make the coolest dance floor ever. Nope, that's a 1. Could add more, not going to. File save. Okay. Now I'm kind of interested. What I'm going to try is add another collider. Copy component. Paste component. Nope, not that one. Because I'm interested to see if oops, not that one. Copy. I can do multiple box colliders that trigger one event. Now, once again, I'd probably make a mesh collider, like a really simple mesh collider around that, like a hexagonal asset, but interested to see if this works as well. So let's do a test on that. Now I'm going to test that one, because if it doesn't work, then I spend the time doing it. Then it's a waste of time. If it does work, awesome. Bonk. I feel I have to turn around. Although I like the surprise idea. Okay. So, ooh, what's happened here? Ah, there's a collider there. Excellent. If this doesn't feel like a dance floor, I don't know what does. Okay, so what's happened is the second collider gets picked up as a physical collider, so that doesn't work. So yeah, I would create a mesh collider to project from that asset. And then make this a mesh collider. Got 5 minutes to go. I feel like I should have a limit to make a space in 3 minutes. I kind of really want to, though. I'll take a vote. How many people want me to make a mesh collider so the circles work properly? You have a bake time to decide. Choose wisely. So that worked, didn't break. Fantastic. So you notice some of the pink is getting involved in the lighting. So it's really, really quite good. Once again, that's a 0.2. So it's not super lit. So it could... It sounds so bad. It's lit, man. So cool. So that's that. Let's have a look. I think they're good. Okay. So we've done a bake. Let's do it. It's the last thing, so it's actually not that hard. So what we're going to do is create a mesh collider, or just a mesh that we collide with, that is like these rings, right? So that one's fine. We just need these 3, so that when we enter it, it will trigger off the event correctly. So I'm going to Shift D these ones, and I'm going to rename them, because naming is stupid important when making spaces. Like, imagine having 001, 002 for the whole space and then trying to figure it out after that. No. Not recommended. Okay. So what I'm going to do, press G, go up. Let's put it about 2 meters. Yeah, maybe there. I'm also going to hide everything else now. So we just have our colliders. Now I'm going to close these off. Now this is pretty important. Is a bridge? Yes. Bridge, good. Bridge, excellent. Okay. So what happens is, now with mesh colliders, it's very important to make them closed, because if it's like one-sided, if you go on the non-normal side, so if I was going on red on this side, I would actually be projected through it, which you could use to your favor. But if you wanted to stop something, or trigger something, it's best to be closed, so that you can use, so it works properly, basically. So let's get that GZ down. Now, a small note with Blender, and this is different from Maya and everything else, is you have to go into edit mode to edit something in Blender. I don't know if I like it. Kind of is good sometimes and kind of isn't sometimes. So I can only edit this one and I won't edit anything else. So pros and cons for sure. One thing I will do is I'm going to use in object mode, which is just everything. If I press tab, I go into edit mode. So those are the differences there. There are others like sculpt and vertex and all sorts of stuff, but a little bit outside this tutorial session, introduction, you name it. But in object mode, if you have an asset, go Control A and go all transforms. Now, the reason for this is sometimes your scale will be off, or the pivot will be not in the center sometimes and you want it to be. So I will usually use all transforms to export these correctly. Now, the poly count on these is okay, but we can make it better. So I'm actually going to select all 3, and then I'm going to clean some of these assets up. So I'm going to use Alt to get maybe every 2, I think, would be enough. Every 3? Every 2. Every 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. Yeah, every 3. And what this will do is, when we delete it and dissolve the edges, is make that check much smaller. So with physics, which colliders are, it doesn't have to check as many assets. Now, this will not align to the shape as well, but it doesn't matter. Sometimes it will. So if you're making a physical collider, the shape will need to be more accurate. So I would probably maybe do every second instead. But for this, we can actually optimize quite a lot. And just get rid of every 3. Hope that makes sense. All wrong. There we go. Yep. Now I'm using Alt to select the edge loop. The edge loop is the whole loop around it. A good tactic. Ooh, these are different. Why are they different? Hang on. A good tactic when modeling is to make sure you have like really good edge loops. I messed that one up. Did I move that? What? What's going on? Yay. That's a little off. That's going to annoy me. I'm going to have to do it properly. Hang on. Okay. Better. That's what we want. Okay. So edge loops, as you can see, are very useful in sort of cleaning up and modifying assets to fit as game ready assets if needed. So super useful. But yeah, it takes a bit of getting used to when you're editing. Some people will pay more attention to it than others. So it depends on your build style and what you're doing and all those sorts of things. But this is what we want. Okay. Now these, I'm going to try something. Control A, all transforms. I'm going to export these as a mesh. So let's go floor colliders. Go to this one. Now, let's go to our inspector. Let's go to our thing that does stuff. Ring 1 doesn't have one, ring 2 does. So I'm going to remove the box collider, and I'm going to add a mesh collider. Yep. And we're going to go down to our floor colliders. Now it has 3. Now these are the ones that are the colliders. So this is the mesh, and these are the mesh. Like these are, what are these? Yeah, this is the mesh renderer. So that's the mesh, and this is just the information, like the base. And when we're creating mesh collider, we actually need one of these. So I think this is 2. So put it on the mesh. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit off. So because this is just a reactor, I can adjust this to there. Now we're going to do the same with the other 2. Mesh. This is 3. Once again, move that a little bit. So the position of the collider doesn't, the position of the reactor doesn't matter. It could be anywhere. It could be at 0, 0, 0, but the mesh does. So make sure that's correct. Remove that, add a mesh collider, and 4. Now note you can do this with meshes, and it's very important to do. If I had a really complicated mesh, so an avatar or a sculpture that looks really, really good, you don't want a high polygon asset to have a mesh collider on it. You want to make a low poly mesh and put the collider on it so it knows what it's about. Save and build, and I think we're done. This works, I'll be happy. It was like 3 hours. a whole space, kind of. So I would, of course, spend, I don't know, 3 more weeks on it. To get it where I want. And depending on the quality and your skill set, things will change on all of these sort of things. Ooh, that's interesting. Ah, okay. So I'm going to try something. Maybe Mesh Collider doesn't work on that. But let's try one more thing there. Mesh Collider. Huh. Okay. Okay. We're going to try this. So Mesh Colliders, it didn't like that. I could run through it still. So I'm going to try it with convex. And I'm going to put an ease trigger on that one. And then I'm going to try convex without a trigger. Because every time you run into it, it doesn't need to be, in this case, it doesn't need to be on the inside as well. It just means when people enter it. So yeah, we could try that. Did I delete it? Ah, small note. The exports folder, the one that we've been building with the playground files every single time, is in your project file. You'll have exports. And that is where the playground files are. I did delete it because I'm very good at that. Conditioned. So I don't have to worry about that. But if you need it for any reason, e.g. copying onto your assets or your wallet, things like that, that is where you do it. Yeah, crypto. So we are controlling the colors using Reactor. We don't have custom scripts in Mona because custom scripts in a web is problematic. I'll say that. So we use a thing that we've created in. Okay. So the external one works, but the internal one doesn't. What was the external one? So Reactor basically controls an animator on an asset. So if I have animator with all these sort of things, basically I'm telling the animator to trigger, in this case, different events, and it will go through. And Reactor is on this. So it's a Mona thing that allows us to do cool interaction with animation. Okay, so which ones worked and which ones didn't? The outer one did. The inner one didn't, so is trigger. Okay. Good to know. So, learn something new every day. Mesh colliders have to be convex and is trigger on a reactor. Box colliders don't. So just a heads up on that. I think that's it. Yep. So hopefully that helps Crypto 3D. We have a tutorial for that. While that loads on the textures, where is it? On the Monodocs Reactor. I have video tutorials. We have the Reactor Basics, so it goes over the overview. We have some doors, we have some elevators, and we have the whole process here written out for you. So yeah, content. So the thing is, every time I go into one of these colliders, it will change the color, but only when I enter it. So that works. All right. So I think that's good. I think that works for me. Let's go live. So for that, those are the playgrounds I want. Let's get rid of all of these assets. Let's go to metaverse.com, make it public, and everyone can jump in with me. So, going to log in. You need a MetaMask. So connect a MetaMask to. I'm just doing it off screen because I'm paranoid about stuff. So make if you have a MetaMask, you can join into Mona. So connect with that. When you log in, let's see what we can do here. Okay, I have secret projects, so I can't show you. But there we go. When you connect to your wallet, you'll have this up here, and you can go to wallet, and that will go to a space that I didn't show you, and then you'll create this. So artist name, Mad Empire, Immadegen, space, space of awesomeness. The coolest dance floor in the universe. You know, we'll keep it pretty low base, low bar. Education. Continue. Okay. So we have our assets. Now our playable files, which we've been creating all along, will go here. So playground files, playable files, interchangeable. We have one artifact, one portal, and canvas, so that looks correct. We will go upload. Might take a little bit, depending on the size. Also, on that, if for some reason it's taking longer than you expect, and any situation you have on the website, I do recommend going to more tools, developer tools, and console, and seeing if there are any issues here. So red is bad, and it seems okay, like so. Just takes a little while. So yeah, if you have any issues with uploading or when you're playing, like in the monospace itself, that is a really good tool to bring up and get us a little bit more information when bringing that up. So if I wanted to, I can connect the portal. Let's do that. Let's go to. We want one of those crazier spaces. Oh, actually, that would be a really good space. Patrick platform. Let's go to that one. Now, artifacts, once again, are links. I could have a title. It could be an NFT, but it could also be any website you like. So we've got that. Close here. Don't go back because you'll lose all this. Close this. And canvas. Let's do that. I don't know. Copy image link. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll give it a shot. So, what is this? Reactor example. It'll make sense in a way. Mona. This is a graphic on the line. I don't want to. Oh no. Let's put it to a link. Let's go to Reactor. Let's make it an image. So let's copy the image link. Now this has to be any public link So, for example, GitHub does not seem to work because it doesn't have .jpeg. So let me try something else. Open image in new tab. No, that's not going to work. Okay. Someone give me an image. Public image. Cool UFO images. This one. So note that the .jpeg or PNG or GIF need to be there. And because this is a portrait, I'm going to scale the canvas down. So link that, see if this works. Yep. All copyright to the original author, which is just being namaste.tumblr.com. Preview image, let's get that. Literally doing everything really fast. Okay, so we have our alien, which is great, but I'm going to hide that. So if I press V, I can go first person if I want to. That bloom is awesome. Now, as you can see, we have our image here, and the canvas shrunk that way because it's a portrait. So we have that. Now, if I click on that, want to get rid of the tutorial, I can go to platform 78 if I wanted to. Shouldn't have done that, but anyway. This is how portals work. So this is another space. It's really nice. There's really cool shaders that can do like cool holographs, stuff like that, holograms. So yeah, now let's see if we can go back. Actually, no, I'm just going to shut that and go preview again. Now the preview image is this image. So I want to, what do we want to do? Let's make that the image. So I'm going to go first person. I'm going to hide the UI by pressing U. I'm going to press F11 to go full screen. And therefore we have our shot. Let's go something a bit. No, it was better before. So I'm going to do that. Oops. Now, of course, I would make it so you can't get around this. So I'm gonna make sure that we go there. There we go. Wait for the press escape to show your cursor and go Alt print screen and then bring up Photoshop and then go new file. Create and paste. I'm going to reduce that because that image is probably going to be too big in file size. I think it's 5 meg maximum. So 1920 by 1080. And Okay. Okay. So that's good. So get rid of that. I can drag and drop. But for this one, yeah, I'm gonna just drag and drop. Oh no, I'm just gonna add the asset. Okay. Now the mintable file is what the NFT represents. So that is a Unity file that is done here. So we've got Mona build mintable files. Playground files is what we've been doing here. But the build mintable files is when you are done, when you are finished, when it is amazing and perfect. You will build the mintable files and then you will update them here. You can also make a video. Now that also needs to be no UI, no avatar, and 1920 by 1080. And that's for like marketing on Mona and when you're linking it and stuff. So we have all of that. Once all that's done, you can submit that to the QA team and they will check it and make sure everything's good. As noted, there were some hierarchy things you need to consider and other things. And once you're clear, you can mint your space and then sell it for billions of dollars. Or whatever's accurate to your skill level and marketing and time and all the rest of it. So once this is all done, and you don't need the preview image, I just wanted to add that to show it. You can go preview, and then we can make a hangout, which is multiplayer, and which I'm going to share in the chat. So down here, host a hangout. It will load the space again, and then I can share this. And that's it. That's Mona in a nutshell. So what's it been? 3.5 hours, start to finish. Apart from building the some of the assets, so that was another maybe 2 or 3 hours, I think. Setting up the UFO, and some of the unwrapping and things like that. But for the most part, let's say this is a 6-hour space, give or take. But in that 6 hours, we've made assets, we've introduced and set up portals, canvases, and artifacts. We've done light mapping, we've done reflection probes, we've done light probes, we've done animation, we've done reactor, we've done a warp volume. So we've done a fair few things. The only thing I haven't done, and I feel like I'm just going to put it in because that's the last thing we haven't really looked at, is player property volumes. So player property volumes basically controls the jump, avatar controls, and some of the visual things like bloom, chromatic aberration, and what's the other one? Motion blur. So basically, that's the whole process. It's slowing down again, or is that the lag there? So like it's speeding up again. I think I'm not too sure. But let's put this in the Discord as well. I have no idea how well the stream is going. Good luck. I look like I'm normal speed. We'll see. All right. So notice how we have a shadow on the character. That is because of the real-time light. So that's pretty important. And notice how the green is less obvious over here. That's because of the light probes. But when we get closer, you can see that it's getting a little bit more intense, which is pretty cool. Excellent. Okay. Let's go hang out where it's cool. Boom. I'll set it up so it looks cool before anyone gets in here. So what I'd like to do is have it look like this to start. But because of the animation approach, there we go. That's what we want. And get some of these as well. Excellent. And we have our mirror ball at the top there. So there you go. Done. All right. So that's it. Done and done. Welcome to Mona. Start to finish. For the most part. Once again, like the Blender, like creating the assets is actually a large chunk of the time. So of course, spending the required time there to get your game ready assets done is pretty important. Coming from Rhino and Revit and some of the sculpting tools, you'll need to look at other ways to reduce the optimization for that. All that leg. Let's get some groove on. So that allows you to focus on. Actually, I'm gonna, just in case. Maybe it's okay. That one, just in case. Okay, so yeah, taking those assets into something like Blender, which is free, and using some of the optimization tutorials that we've got, retopology, even decimation sometimes, and these are all tools that you'll see and look up online in YouTube, video tutorials, all sorts of things. But those allow you to take those assets that you've created as you see fit and create assets that are more game ready, that allow you to create a space that is more smooth. So otherwise, you'll have assets that look amazing, but you'll be running at like 10 frames a second, which is very bad. And when we get to VR, like it will be unusable. So mobile also lower. Well, I don't know. Smartphones are kind of magic now. But if you're using VR or mobile, the spaces need to be even more optimized. Especially if you're using the Quest, for example. So you'll need to look at how do you get those assets down to a level that work. in those assets. So when they arrive, then we'll probably recommend looking at creating a space for that. Otherwise, it'll probably not run that well. So that is definitely a big part of game development, and Mona is definitely a game development process. So it is equally important to get into the basics, at least, of that. I think the latest version of Rhino does have a mesh optimization tool. I don't know if it's decimation or remeshing, but that will allow you to do some really cool stuff with that. Hang on, I'm going to make it cooler. So yeah, there's a lot of elements of the process. Now, of course, there are reasons, there are whole degrees on game development. That said, you don't need one to make a Mona space. I've gone in with a few low-end stuff, but a fair bit of high-end stuff. But I've definitely covered all of the assets that you could use to start setting up basic versions of a lot of the things that we've looked at. And as noted in the docs, we have tutorials for a lot of them. So Reactive, for example, we have video tutorials on all of these. We've gone over most of the stuff that we've looked at today. Colliders, portals, canvases, artifacts, even adding a custom skybox. Optimizing your space is something that allows you to improve how well your space works. So level of detail reduces the poly count of your assets from a distance. So at very far, you don't want a very high polygon asset. Optimizing draw calls, things like materials and putting things together into one asset. And texture compression, which reduces the file size. What else have we done? We did light mapping, reflection probes, light probes, which we've done. Prefabs are very useful in that if I make a prefab, which is basically a kind of a copy of an asset, but then I use that prefab 20 times, if I edit one of them and then apply that change, all of them will update. So that will be a really useful way to edit your space if you have a lot of assets that are the same. So if you have 20 pillars that are quite complex, you don't want to make 20 pillars. You want to make one pillar. Do that in a really cool way with normal maps to get that high quality detail on there. Copy that, make it a prefab, and then duplicate that around, and then really easy to update that. You can add audio in a space, things like doors or explosions or laser sounds. But I do recommend keeping this to like ambient noise elements, not music. You can feed live audio into a space using the live music feed. So that's basically putting your desktop PC into a microphone effect to play in the space, which you can do. If you have one song and it's quite loud, especially, everyone will get really sick of that song really quickly. So you can have like a low hum if it's like a technical space, things like that. But I wouldn't recommend music. We're going to be looking at adding music effects later on. So maybe a playlist, or once again, once video goes in, you could do streams. There are ways around it. So keep that in mind with audio. Player property values, we didn't get volumes, we didn't get a chance to use, but that will allow you to have a collider that will affect the gravity, jump height, walk speed, sprint speed, bloom, chromatic aberration, and motion blur of your space in that collider. It could be the whole space, it could be a little bit, but that's really cool. I did a really fun jumping castle, that's the one with that. What volumes we covered, reactor we covered, VRMs we're not going to cover because that's a whole thing. Optimizing your mesh, so some of the things we talked about, decimation and remeshing. So that reduces the polygon. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. Animation we covered, importing animation from an external sheet. Trim sheets is a very useful tool to optimize material use. So this one material can make this whole house, depending on how you unwrap it. So This space, which is just nuts, is like one material. I don't know how they did this, but somehow they managed to make this whole ecosystem with like one texture. Sorry, many materials, one texture. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of stuff. And then of course you have submitting your space. So putting it on the wallet, creating your image and video preview. There's different approaches to doing that. The QA process, which is what we look at before allowing you to mint your space. Done. Record everything in one stream. So yeah, so we'll wrap it up there. I think that's a good cover. You can't get more introduction than that. But yes, come to it as you can. This will be on our YouTube for a good while, e.g. forever. And yeah, we'll see how we go. Thanks for watching. I'm going to put that even in the chat. Maybe you're not listening. You've just been putting up with my random, what do you call it? My expressive gestures for the last 3.5 hours. Thanks all for coming. Hope you had fun. What do we got? Join the Discord for Immadegen or for Mona. If you want to build a space, the Discord is where to go for help or just great community. They're all good people. I'm just going to keep jumping. Gonna wrap it up. Yeah. So Immadegen has a Discord. Go join them. Mona has a Discord. Go join them. Both are great communities. The docs for all of the information that we've gone over today in detail, rather than the quick rush moving version. And that's basically a wrap. So thanks all for coming. Hope you had fun and happy building. Chat. All right. See you.